Hey guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back for video 2, August 17th, Saturday, and it's 10:49 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's get started, picking up right from where we left off last time. And actually, last video, I told you guys I was going to, well, you don't need there. I told you guys that I was going to start getting so much better with thanking people, and probably the easiest thing for me to do is just thank you on air. So thank you, Deborah S., who bought me some coffee today, and Bobby G., who, and I know he's been a long time listener. He's been like way from the beginning. So he bought me some coffee yesterday's video. So thank you so much to you guys. I appreciate it. It does help me to, just to kind of compensate for my time. I know somebody once said, I don't believe you're buying coffee with that money. And, no, I'm not. Yes, I do buy coffee every now and then, but no, it goes for all sorts of things like, well, extra cords and cat food and groceries and, all sorts of things. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go on now. And as always, thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. So let's just pick up from where we left off here, and here we go. All right, now this doesn't surprise me at all. I could tell you many horror stories about Canadian medicine from personal experience, but I won't. I may do a show just on that at some point, though. Okay, Canadian healthcare refused to pay for disabled father's care, but happily paid for his assisted suicide. Yeah, that is my experience. They don't have any problem with putting you to death, none at all. But if you're going to cost them too much money, nah. It's sad, but it's true. So this was from August 15th, 2 days ago. The well-known platitude, "But for the grace of God go I," played in my brain while reading the tragic story of a disabled Canadian father who chose to end his own life, leaving behind an 11-year-old son. It would be easy to judge Sean Taggart, who was diagnosed with ALS 6 years ago. Do I believe he made the wrong choice? Sure, but I wasn't the one who was struggling to pay for my health care after losing my ability to breathe on my own or feed myself. I'm not the one living under Canada's healthcare system that was more than happy to pay for my suicide, but not the care I needed. So yes, I disagree with Taggart's choice and mourn the loss of his life, but I blame Canada and their touted socialized medicine. According to a story published by CBC, Taggart died on Tuesday, August 6. A Facebook post linked to in the article provides the sad details that led to his decision. Sean was diagnosed with ALS in March 2013. For years, he endured the steady deterioration of his abilities until suffering cardiac arrest in late October 2017. He was resuscitated and placed on a ventilator and lived since then on life support, completely immobile, communicating only via an eye-tracking computer setup. Finally, with his health rapidly deteriorating, Sean opted for a medically assisted death. The post goes on to point the finger in the direction of the government and the mandated health care. Ensuring consistent care was a constant struggle and source of stress for Sean as a patient. While he succeeded with the help of many in piecing together a suitable care facility in his own home, including an expensive saliva suction machine needed to prevent him from choking, obtained with the help of donations raised online, gaining the 24-hour care he required was extremely difficult, especially as the provincial government refused to fully fund home care. The few institutional options on hand, Sean pointed out, would have offered vastly inferior care while separating him from his family and likely would have hastened his death. We would ask on Sean's behalf that the government recognize the serious problems in its treatment of ALS patients and their families and find real solutions for those already suffering unimaginably. According to CBC, Vancouver Coastal Health offered, and see, Vancouver, that healthcare is way superior to Ontario. So if this happened out there, imagine what we're experiencing. Vancouver Coastal Health offered him 15.5 hours of home care under the Choice in Supports for Independent Living program, but not the 24-hour care he needed. Taggart was later offered as much as 20 hours per day, which his doctor said was still not enough. Relocation was not an option, as that would have taken him away from his son, of whom he had partial custody. A single-payer health care system will always sink to the lowest common denominator, removing choice. True. If death is more efficient for the system, then death it will be. And that is true. That's what happened to my brother. And yeah, I need to get over it, but I'm still a little bitter about that. They killed my brother. He was able to breathe on his own. He was in a coma, but he was able to breathe on his own when they removed his life support, but that wasn't good enough for him. They gave him an overdose of morphine, which killed him immediately. So yes, if the care is going to be too expensive and death's going to be cheaper, then yeah, death it'll be. And that's on top of the gaps in medical care that those with socialized medicine suffer. Instead of finding ways to serve Taggart and his son, the Canadian healthcare system found it more convenient to kill him. Now, a young boy has lost his father sooner than necessary. This is the medical future promised by the Democrats. Yeah, we have problems with Democrats here as well. Essentially Democrats. They're called liberals here, but that's what they are. Now, and this is the young man. I mean, it's tragic, but that is what it's like. And I doubt that any of the people listening to me are for socialized medicine, but there may be, I don't know. And if you are, this is what you have to look forward to. So just hope that you do not get sick, or your parents, or any of your loved ones. And I'll tell you something, they are not kind to old people here. Not kind at all. If you go into the hospital, there's a good chance you won't come out. I'm sorry, but that's the truth, because I've seen it too many times. So anyway, this is tragic. And yet, Trudeau says, oh, we want to bring in 100 or 1 million more immigrants. Now, what kind of immigrants do you think they are? You're right. And and they get everything. They get everything. And the people that really deserve it, like this young man, or people that are elderly that have paid into the system their whole entire lives, they get kicked to the curb because, if the immigrant happens to be a young person, they say, well, their life is worth more than this elderly person, even though this elderly person has paid into the system their whole life and, deserves the care. They're Canadian. That's what's happening here. And people are upset and bitter about it. Now, there are people that argue with me because they haven't had a loved one be murdered. And my brother was murdered. They haven't had that. So they argue and they say, oh, surely that's not what happened. I'm not stupid. I know what happened. And it's not just me. It's happened to many, many people. Now, I would love, because even just in my sphere of influence here, I know, many people that this has happened to. Many. And I would love to interview them and do a show on it, but I'm afraid that I might disappear or, suicide myself or something like that. So seriously, I don't, those of you that think Canada is this, golden land. I love this country. It is clean. There are many, many wonderful things to love here. It is full of nature, and it's in the summertime, it's the most beautiful place on earth. But there's other things that are quite nefarious that go on, and they're hidden. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. And I want you to know that this is not the exception. It's not. It's the way of life here, and it will be the life of you there as well if you bring in socialized medicine, because it always sinks to the lowest common denominator, and it always ends up who deserves the resources. A younger person will always trump an older person. And yes, you can look at that and say, well, the young person has their whole life ahead of them. That's true. But who funds the system? It's the older people that have been paying into it their whole lives. Do they not deserve care? Well, they give them care, all right. A needle in the arm. All right. Yes, forgive me. I am still bitter about my brother. And, the same thing happened to my dad. Now, it wasn't the same situation with my dad when he died. But, anyway, I won't get into that. But my stepdad, because my mother, when my father died, remarried, and my stepdad's wife had cancer, and they killed her. She needed dialysis, and they said no, because you've got cancer, so we're not giving you dialysis. And she said, but I'll die. And they said, yeah, that's right. There was no sympathy. There was no empathy. She had been a teacher her whole life, paid into the system her whole life. And, she had no choice, and her family had no choice but to watch her slowly die, being poisoned to death by her own kidneys. So, or by the whatever. I mean, had she had dialysis, she could have lived another few years. Well, who are they to say that those few years aren't valuable? She had grandchildren. She had children. She had grandchildren. Well, who's to say that those years aren't worth anything? Anyway, let's get back into Q-related news. All right, now let's go on to this, and this you are not going to believe, or you may. Sunny Women's Studies staffer milking cows is sexual assault. Okay. Yeah. A new research paper published last week by a staff member of the Women's Studies Department at SUNY Brockport makes the case that the dairy industry's production process involves the rape and sexual assault of cows. According to a report by Campus Reform, a staff member of the Women's Studies Department at the college at Brockport, State University of New York, argued in a recent published academic journal article that the production of milk on farms is akin to rape and sexual assault. The research article author, Mackenzie April, is in charge of social media for the Women's Study Department at the college. She should be in charge of nothing. The article makes the case that the milk production process involves both rape and sexual assault, which occurs, according to April, during the insemination and milking process, respectively. A few brief examples include rape or sexual assault, non-consensual hormone treatments, and emotional trauma related to pregnancy. Dairy cows are forcibly impregnated or raped in order to constantly produce milk for humans to consume. This is not to say that male cows, bulls, do not undergo similar pain and anguish. The struggle, they die and they cry for help the same way a dairy cow does. However, it is biological differentiation that determines their life journey, similar to the way these biological differences will indicate how human beings will be socialized and treated throughout their lifetime. The research was published by a journal started at SUNY Brockport called Dissenting Voices. The journal, which is a collaboration between students at different levels of their education leading to doctorate programs, was created to give students an opportunity to reflect and expand upon the lessons they've learned in their courses. Okay, yeah. This is unbelievable. And, the thing is, I grew up, both of my grandparents were dairy farmers. And, I've grown up around dairy all my life. And the thing is, I do realize that the huge farms that they have now, industrial type farms, they're not healthy for the animals. But let me tell you, I know from you know, I mean, I was milking cows by hand when I was very, very young. And those cows lived pretty good lives, the dairy cows, because they had open pasture. They were treated well. You know, people, you know, they called them by name. The cows each had their own personality, and they were treated rather well. Now, I understand, and I disagree with large factory farms. I know that because of population and so forth that we have them, but I do believe that they are cruel. I think cows should live their lives outdoor in the sunshine and open pasture. That's how I feel anyway. But to say that they are being raped and sexually assaulted, yeah, that's a bit much. So what do you guys think about that? Yes, I would. I mean, it would be great if we could all be vegetarian and whatever, but you know, it's not. Well, don't get me started. You know, I don't think that. I think we should probably live more like the Chinese and the Japanese, who treat meat as a condiment and live more on vegetables and fresh fruit and nuts and grains, and whole grains and so forth. But, you know, anyway, I digress again. Let's go back. But yeah, let me know what you think about this, because I just found this just, you know, a tad bit, okay, a lot bizarre. Alrighty, let's go back. Oh, this is a feel-good story. Let's all feel good. This might be the story that I've already... Oh, yes, I love this. Okay, this little guy has cancer. His name is Quinn. And he's stuck inside all the time. He can't go out because of his treatment and so forth. So the neighborhood got together to entertain the toddler. Well, he's, I guess, not a toddler. He's 3 years old. Is that considered a toddler? I think of a toddler more as 2. But anyway, so I want you to see this. I love this. I really love it. And I try to, when I come across feel-good stories, bring them to you, because we've got enough bad news out there right now that it's getting a little bit much, and it's going to start affecting our mental health if we don't at least get some good things in there. So let's 3-year-old Quinn is in isolation. He's homebound and on a restricted diet. Hang on here. I'm going to turn this down because it's way too loud. And okay, there we go. Let's go back here. 3-year-old Quinn is in isolation for cancer treatment. He's homebound and on a restricted diet. So members of the local community have been gathering outside his house every day to greet and entertain him. He received a stem cell transplant in June and a high dose of chemotherapy, which wiped out his immune system. Whether it's someone performing an activity or just driving by to honk, Quinn gets so happy and excited when he sees what's going on outside. So that is the, it was only a minute long, but I don't know about you, but I find that just so heartwarming that this community would care about the life of this little 3-year-old. You know, we're always talking about those that abort children and so forth, but there are people out there that really care. And, you know, just think of this community making sure that he's entertained and driving by and honking, and the police driving by and honking, and people doing all sorts of things, juggling and singing and just playing with him. Like he's not able to go out and join them. But I think that this is wonderful. And I think when we do give back to others in whatever way we can, it makes us better human beings. So anyway, let's go back now. I wish every story could be a feel-good story. I really do. Now, I'm going to come down here. Actually, I'm going to go here first. I mentioned that someone had requested that I sign some cards for them and mail it back. And there was a few people that expressed concern. And all of a sudden I thought, I'm going to look into this because my information was stolen. I was in that data breach, Equifax data breach. So I was one of the people whose data was stolen. And I don't know, but with my signature, there's things that they could do. And we're going to take a look at this because I decided to check it out to see if other people had this happen to them. And yes, they have. So unfortunately, because maybe this person was well-meaning, but because of reading this and because of your warnings, I am not going to be doing that because look at this. It is a thing, apparently. It's called the spammers who chase after autographs. The spammers who chase after autographs, a Russian spammer just wanted me to mail him a signed photo. But why? This week, I received an email that had all the hallmarks of a spam, a generic sounding note that made no reference to a specific recipient, poorly translated into broken English, that was picked up by my mail client as junk. Good day, proclaimed the nondescript subject line from an .ru address from the content of the message, but the content of the message caught my attention. The signatories, family Sidorov, weren't asking for money or offering me an unmissable investment opportunity. They were trying to hawk any self-enhancement products. They didn't claim to be minor royalty. All they wanted was for me to send a signed photo to a snail mail address in St. Petersburg. I didn't for one second think that anyone could legitimately want my autograph, but I did wonder what exactly Valery Sidorov and his family were hoping to achieve. If I did send him the photo, what would he do with it? Bernie Hogan, a researcher at the Oxford Internet Institute, told me over the phone that it was a new one for him. He suggested, however, that the interest in an autograph could have something to do with the rise in digital signatures. Now it's becoming increasingly conventional to be able to sign a document with a digital signature, which is like a photo of your signature, he explained, and referenced Apple Preview app as one that allows you to then place that signature in PDF documents. Now that's becoming increasingly accepted, of course, because they're still just digital copies. They would be a great source for new forms of identity fraud. Hogan speculated that it might be possible to just crop the signature out in Photoshop and use it in some kind of criminal application, though he had not seen this kind of cybercrime before. My apparent admirers suddenly seemed less friendly. Searching Google for any known autograph scams, I came across a few blog posts from people, often little-known musicians, writers, or models, who had received similar requests and taken to the internet to ask what the catch could be. In 2009, author Lee Pertel wrote that she received several requests from people based in Germany and Poland. She got suspicious when the requesters didn't fit her target readership of teen girls and found other people had been approached with the same message. Her post had since gathered 163 comments, many from people who have received similar spam. These people actually want autographs, but not because they're mad fans. Even back then, some raised the idea of identity fraud, though others were unsure. Forgery seemed unlikely, they suggested, given most public figures wouldn't sign a fan autograph with the same signature they use on their bank checks anyway. The answer, it transpired, was much more low-tech. It seems that at least some of these people actually want autographs, a lot of them, but not because they're mad fans. Pertel told me in an email that she eventually tracked down the pictures she sent out the first time she was approached for sale online. I did eventually find my signed cards for sale on eBay, she wrote, for €1 each. Woohoo, what a bargain. Upon further sleuthing, I have discovered whole websites dedicated to autograph seekers, she added. They share information with each other in the forum sections, who to contact, how to contact them, and so forth. They go directly to the individuals rather than through celebrity publicists, and the people who are being emailed run the gamut from writers to actors to chemists to race car drivers. Alina Simone, an American musician and writer, was another target of one of these autograph hunters. She got a message signed off Sandy, who gave an address in Buffalo and played the classic spam sympathy card. Her husband Kenny had gone through surgery and would be thrilled with a signed photo. After Simone's suspicions were raised, who the hell wanted an autographed photo nowadays? Didn't that go out of fashion in the 60s? She wrote in a blog post. She searched the name given, Kenny Thrun, and found that he was apparently very prolific in his signature collecting. She emailed me a link to a post online from one apparently Buffalo-based Kenny advertising autographed photos of TV and movie stars, singers, and bands of all styles of music, sports stars and all sport: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, Indy, golf, tennis, boxing, MMA, Olympics, and others, U.S. and world leaders, astronauts, chefs, comedians, cartoonists, and other celebs. Who the hell wants an autographed photo nowadays? Didn't that go out of fashion in the 60s? And yes, I searched to see if anyone else had been targeted specifically by my Valeri, and didn't find much in the way of autograph hunting, but I did see him crop up asking for other random memorabilia, both in an email thread to members of a local political group and in the comment section of a post on politics in Mali. He asked for advertising materials, souvenirs with logo of your party, t-shirt, tags, handles, and badges, and gave the same address I was sent. In a Facebook post on the wall of a hotel, he asked for something of your choice with the logo of the hotel, such as pens, t-shirts, DVD, or USB flash drive with a video of your property, or something else that we were able to remember the children beautiful moments of our joint holiday at the hotel. I suppose even these knickknacks have some kind of infinitesimal value if you accumulate the stuff in large quantities, and that, of course, is the whole MO of spam. While sending out hundreds of emails seems like an old school technique, Hogan said it's surprisingly effective in bulk. These days it appears that phishing is more successful than merely spam in the classic 419 scam, but there's no evidence to suggest these things are unsuccessful, he said. It costs little to send out thousands of messages, and a few responses could make it worth the sender's time. Hogan's advice was to not open an email like this, and that could give the sender proof that your address is live. Even if you just open that email and it has an image in there, that's now sent a digital signal back, or sent a signal back to Russia that says your account is active, you're receiving email, he said. In a full-blown spam campaign, that proof could even make your email address valuable for the spammer to sell on. For her part, Pertel suggested that if you're a modestly successful person in your field and you get an autograph request that seems suspicious, you should be wary. When people from other countries request signed photos, they are flattered, as I was, but wary. So they do a Google search first, she wrote. They know they are not Taylor Swift. Another trick she suggested was to ask which song, book, performance of yours the sender enjoyed, as a spammer is unlikely to bother responding, but a real fan wouldn't have trouble answering. The comment section of her blog post has become something of a forum for people to name and shame their fake fans. Those targeted with emails often leave the name and address given so that others can be aware of the tricksters. She said that only 2 people had ever got in touch to request their details be removed, one of whom went to great lengths to prove he was in fact a real fan. From his blatantly copy-pasted email, I'm pretty sure Valerie is no great fan of my work. Intriguingly, however, I did find his details listed on a Philippines-based stamp collector's website. Looked like he's just really into his collecting. Now, this is interesting because they do target, I can assume that being on YouTube and having, a moderate base of people that are regular listeners, you might be a target of these people. So I am so thankful that a few of you brought that to my attention and cautioned me. Thank you very, very much, because you may have saved me a lot of headache. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And please warn other people. And I know that, there are people with YouTube channels that listen to my channel just as I listen to other channels. So if there's any of you listening, please be cautious. And I only brought this up because I felt I should really warn people, because there are a lot of people that are on YouTube or what have you, and this seems to be a new thing. So anyway, I did think it was very odd, because I thought, why would anybody want my autograph? Like, I'm not famous. I'm not, but there you go. All right, let's go back. All right, now let me see. Let's go on here. This shouldn't surprise anybody. Well, that shouldn't surprise anybody either. Weight loss crap coming up. Breaking 3 Epic Fine lawyers challenge autopsy results. MCC prison staff refuses to help investigators. Well, of course they're going to refuse to help. On Friday afternoon, the New York City medical examiner ruled top U.S. prisoner Epic Fine's death a suicide. The medical examiner's office said in a statement Friday that an autopsy and other evidence confirmed the 66-year-old financier hanged himself in his cell at a federal jail, Bloomberg reported. Epic Fine was found hanging in a cell from his bunk bed with a prison bedsheet wrapped around his head, according to a law enforcement source who spoke to the New York Post. Sure he was. Epic Fine, who is 6 feet tall, reportedly secured the bedsheet to the top bunk bed and wrapped the sheet around his neck. Sure he did. Many close to Epic Fine fear he was murdered, and CBS News, citing an unnamed source, also reported on Tuesday that shrieking and shouting was heard coming from Epic Fine's cell on the morning of his death. The source also said they heard corrections officers saying, "Breathe, Epic Fine, breathe," while trying to revive him. Following the release of the autopsy, Epic Fine's lawyers challenged the autopsy results. The lawyers are going to view prison videos themselves from the MCC the night of his death. Well, good luck with that, because all the cameras were pointing out, not in to the cells, which is absolutely asinine. And there are reports that the MCC prison staff are not helping investigators. Well, gee, I wonder why. Wanted to mention that, and let's go back. Lots more to get to, lots more. Now, this is going to be one of those things that you're going to think, are these people out of their ever-loving minds? And they are. They really are. Bare naked ISLAM. It isn't phobia when they really are trying to kill you. Yeah. Okay. Racist. Britain has decided to fight soaring knife crime by putting knife warnings on takeout fried chicken boxes. What? Yes, because I'm sure that the people that are doing the knifings are all eating chicken. Not only is this warning insulting to Black people, it ignores the people to whom the warning should be directed. Young Muslim migrants, the main group behind the recent surge in knife crime, but rarely mentioned by the fake news media. Of course not. And we are rolling out our knife-free chicken boxes. And I would assume that these were plastic knives that they were putting in these chicken boxes. You really think you can cut down on the knifing crimes by taking away plastic knives? You don't think that they can spork someone to death? Come on, people. This is beyond ridiculous. Like, honestly, if I read this somewhere in a fiction book, I would be like, oh, come on, this could never happen. I'd be like, this person is a terrible writer. Wow. Yep. No more knives in chicken boxes if you're in Britain. Yeah. Because those plastic knives, they're the cause of all the problems. It was those plastic knives all along. Why didn't someone think of this sooner? People could still be alive. My gosh, how many, it would have to be death by 1,000 paper cuts to kill somebody with a plastic knife. Really. No, seriously. To have a better chance of killing somebody with a ballpoint pen. Are they going to take all those away? Daily Wire, there's special chicken boxes. There's regular chicken boxes and then there's special chicken boxes. Warning about the dangers of carrying a knife. On chicken boxes? Why not at the Chinese takeout? Why not on pizza boxes? Why not on burger boxes? Why chicken boxes? Like that's going to somehow halt all the knife crime in Britain. Special chicken boxes. Warning about the dangers of carrying a knife are to be distributed to takeaways across England and Wales by the government. The government. Yes. It's the government that thought this up. Oh, I bet knife crime's just going to take a dive right down, boy. Forkings will go up, and sporkings. Sporkings and forkings, but the knife deaths will just plummet. Plummet. Did you just hit me on the head? Anyway, yeah. Reports Sky News, more than 320,000 of them featuring the Home Office knife-free campaign will replace the standard packaging in 210 outlets. Yeah, those knife-wielding, chicken-loving people. They all love chicken. Those people that knife people, they love chicken, I guess. They must all eat chicken. I don't know. I can't for the life of me see any sense in this at all. The knife-free campaign has largely prompted mockery on social media. Gee, I can't imagine why, with even some government figures denouncing it. Shadow Home Secrecy Diane Abbott called it a crude, offensive, and probably expensive campaign. Yes, because we all know that plastic knives are the bane of everyone's existence. Civilization has dissolved since the implementation of plastic knives. Ban plastic knives, please, for the love of humanity. Yeah. Good to see the Home Office is finally taking a stand against the weirdos eating chicken with a knife and fork. Is this some kind of joke? Why have you chosen chicken shops? What's next? Knife-free watermelons? Well, I eat my watermelons knife-free. Once I've cut it in half, of course, I spoon it out. But anyway, I digress. Honest to God, if the best idea you have to tackle knife crime is to write stuff on a fried chicken, you should quit power forever in embarrassment, not tweet it out proudly like you've just solved world hunger, you ridiculous sack of used something, said one Twitter user. Britain has increasingly sought to curtail violent knife crime throughout the country. In London, for example, Mayor Sadiq Khan had to implement knife control measures to combat the rise in crime rates. Knife Yeah, it must be working real well. The knifings are just going through the roof. But of course, this fried chicken, I bet that'll work. I bet you that's going to work. Yeah. They're probably opening that chicken, and just as they're about to bite into that, they're reading that and they're going, oh, it's wrong? It's wrong to knife people? Is it wrong? I didn't know. I'll stop immediately. Just saying. Okay. An epidemic of Fuzlam stabbings and acid attacks in London has gotten so bad that London Mayor Sadiq Khan is announcing broad new knife control policies designed to keep these weapons of war out of the hands of Londoners looking to cause others harm, reported the Daily Wire's Emily Zanotti in April of last year. Yes, it's the knives' fault. It's always the knives' fault. We need to peg these knife makers, and we need to just tax them out of oblivion. Right? It's the knives' fault. If those people hadn't invented knives, none of that would have happened. The tough immediate measures involve an incredible police crackdown, a ban on home deliveries of knives and acid, and expanding law enforcement stop and search powers so that police may stop anyone they believe to be a threat or planning a knife or acid attack. How do you tell that? You just watch people and go, you look like you might be planning a knife or an acid attack. You're under arrest. I don't know, is there a certain expression that these people use when they're thinking about knife or acid attacks? Like, I don't know. But they can arrest you if you look like you might be planning one. Not if you have a knife or acid on you, but if you're even planning it. I'm planning on eating my chicken with a knife and fork. Does that make me a criminal? I'm a woman. I eat my chicken with a knife and fork. Don't arrest me, please. Don't arrest me. The tough immediate measure involves an incredible police crackdown. Okay, we already read that. Yeah, planning a knife or acid attack. Yeah, they are dangerous. Those people that look like they might be planning an attack. Yeah, so there you go. And this, Connie says, walk right out of here without your dry white toast, without your flour fried chickens. I don't know what that means. And then make MUSLIMS into Soylent Green. Bok, 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 bok. Now, of course, if you don't know what Soylent Green is, you may have to look that up, but it is a cult classic. I can't wait for the warning labels on watermelons or malt liquor. A minimum of 250 million innocent and powerless were not murdered by the man with a gun in the last century. They were systematically murdered by so-called elected leaders saying they had noble intent and goodwill, who began to see themselves as gods after they confiscated the arms of the people. Then, having total power to do as they willed, choosing who would live and who would die, they began with censorship and surveillance of the people, invading their privacy, then progressing to the denigration and weaponization of words, speech, and religious beliefs. They use political correctness and propaganda to destroy truth and justice, infiltrating into the education system to indoctrinate the children. Then they've created false flags to institute the removal of the basic rights of the people. They demonized certain groups of people and pitted differences against each other, dividing the people. These leaders did exactly what the Democratic Party, rhinos, mainstream banker media, FBI, CIA, NSA, Five Eyes, etc. are doing today, and they have done in the past 30 to 50 years within our government and other governments around the world to destroy them and mold them into their own scheme. Same program, same results, same evil satanic origin. They now have a new tactic, whereby they create myriad laws to make everyone a criminal, to remove their rights of self-defense. Then they change laws that make it all right for them to lie to the American people. And if this is some noble act, all liars are criminals and enemies of the people that they serve. The people are not their subjects who serve them, which is what they think now, or what they now think, and try to make the people believe. People are defeated when they turn from the law of their God or are manipulated to do so. Then evil can take hold, destroying and corrupting the entire society. It is called the demoralization of mankind. It is exactly what is being orchestrated in America today, same as it ever was. Yet, as generations come and go, the new are unaware of what has been unto their demise. But even then, the powerful machine created by evil somehow convinces people that up is down, left is right, all having to do with turning their back on God, who would otherwise protect them and lead them to truth and discernment, for which they would not eventually be murdered en masse by so-called good-willed leaders. Now, that is an incredibly accurate reply to that. I mean, very aptly fit for the article at hand. So, yeah. I know you're thinking, oh, they'd never do that in America. Well, not under Trump, they wouldn't. But you put somebody else in power, yeah. I could see AOC doing something like that, or Kamala, or, well, just about any of the Democrats, because their thinking is like cuckoo. All right, let's go back. Yes. Now, let me see here. We're running out of time, and I have to see what's important and what isn't. All right. I can leave that, but I do need to get to this. I do, because I know that you want to hear this. I know you do, and it's important. Now, behind the illusion, Ellen DeGeneres. I know, you're saying, what's this have to do with anything? It has everything to do with everything. So, let's look here. Okay. There's a life rule I try to abide by: feed what you want to grow and starve what you want to die. It's a simple, well-known universal truth that whatever you put your focus on grows, and whatever you neglect withers and dies. Once you understand this principle, you become very picky about what you focus on. You become intentional about where you give your time and energy to, and equally as intentional about what you starve. Enter Andy and Jake. That's why last week, when the executive producer of the Ellen DeGeneres Show, Andy Lassner, and CNN's Jake Tapper used their collective reach to take 30 seconds of an hour and a half interview I did out of context. Okay, they took 30 seconds of an hour and a half interview I did out of context in order to smear me and grossly misinform as many people as possible. My instinct was, of course, not to respond. And this is, this is Andy Lassner. Ha 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 ha, totally true, ha 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 ha. And he is responding to this. Right Wing Watch, Ellen DeGeneres is a CIA operative. Wake up, people. Well, I've thought that for a very long time, that she is. And I, of course, it was just me surmising, but that I can totally believe that. Isn't that exactly what you would tweet if she were a deep state asset, Andrew? That from Jake Tapper. My instinct was to starve it. I don't want to start a war with Jake Tapper or Andy Lassner, because frankly, I don't care what people like them, entitled elites clinging to the bones of a dying world. They must realize how many of us view them, for good reason, as nothing more than the establishment drones, a couple of lackey Agent Smiths. To anyone who's been paying attention at all over the last couple of years, one thing is very clear. Guys like Andy Lassner and Jake WikiLeaks Tapper are not the future. The future belongs to those who refuse to sell their soul, those who refuse to feed the eye, those thinking original thoughts, asking questions, researching, speaking the truth, and encouraging others to do the same. Those who aren't merely foreground shills for something else. When I look at them, I see ignorant wizards who never leave the city of Oz, working furiously behind a curtain that's already been pulled back. Nothing is sillier or more pathetic. The Twitter sphere they roam is replete with Harvey Weinstein enablers, pedophile island visitors, and people anxiously awaiting Kim Kardashian's next contour kit. Basically, those who are asleep and the soulless monsters who exploit them, not exactly the saviors of the human race. But as much as I hate to feed this beast, it's a good opportunity to educate not just the arrogant, ignorant likes of Lassner and Tapper, but any lost sleeping souls who actually still listen to them. Did they come after me because I'm over the target? Are they trying to make a joke out of this because it's true? You decide. Jake the Puppet Man. I sometimes forget that there are people who still don't know how WikiLeaks revealed that Jake Tapper is a puppet of the power establishment. This is the same power establishment that started all our wars, rigged the election against Bernie Sanders, and still somehow managed to lose the technology to go to the moon. I may not have as much money as you, Tapper, but at least I don't carry water for those dickheads. Tapper and DNC staff discussed in emails. If we want to offer Jake Tapper questions to ask us, after Tapper's producer, Jason Sayre, asked what DNC Hispanic Media Director Pablo Manriquez wanted to talk about on the show, the rhetoric among DNC staff makes it seem as though it was a standard procedure to write their own questions for CNN interviews. Pablo. And this, it says, window closing on this. Need to know ASAP if we want to offer Jake Tapper questions to ask us. Sent from my iPhone, and that is from Manriquez at thednc.org. In another email between Jason Sayre and Miranda of the DNC, Sayre wrote, "Thanks for facilitating Lewis coming on today, and bear with us through the melee of GOP nonsense and cancellations and all that. Any particular points he'll want to make, we're going to stay Dem focused." And it says, yeah, well, I just read it. That doesn't seem very fair and balanced, and it doesn't remotely resemble journalism. Jake, for his part, didn't think he did anything wrong when the justifiable outrage ensued following the leaks. In his defense, it's been a while since we've had real journalism in America. Maybe he doesn't even know what his job is supposed to be. Journalists aren't supposed to collude with politicians. They are supposed to get questions from the people they're interviewing. That's called PR, sweetie. It's a matter of public record that since the early 50s, the media, as we've known it, has been a farce. Here are 50 facts every American should know about that. The most important connection to understand is that between the media and the CIA, Jake, this part's for you, the CIA and the media. History lesson. After leaving the Washington Post, Carl Bernstein spent 6 months looking at the relationship between the CIA and the media. In his scathing 25,000-word cover story published in 1977 in Rolling Stone, The CIA and the Media, Bernstein wrote that by 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles already oversaw the vast majority of the American media network. By all academic and investigative accounts, that nefarious relationship has gotten stronger every decade since, as the line between what is entertainment and what is media has become more blurred. Enter Ellen DeGeneres. And of course, our good buddy, her longtime executive producer, Andy Lassner. Emails expose Ellen as a willing State Department puppet. I hate to have to put all this in one simple, easy-to-read blog, and honestly had no plans on focusing on Ellen specifically. So Ellen, you have pompous Twitter bully Andy Lassner to thank for the following expose. And it says, Hillary Clinton memo, Ellen willing to use her show to promote Hillary's agenda. A leaked 2009 memo in an email exchange with then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton singled out the Ellen DeGeneres show, which could be used to amplify and deliver messages that advance policymaking. The memo stated that Ellen DeGeneres is willing to use her platform to promote the agenda of the State Department. And it says, while Ellen does not spend many shows dealing with serious foreign policy issues, she does use her show to support important causes and raise money for them. Further, her show is syndicated internationally to 10 countries, including Canada, Australia, and India. She is a big supporter of Hillary Clinton and is willing to use her platform to help promote the agenda of the new Secretary of State. Now, that was unclassified U.S. Department of State. Date 4/29/2016. The email was part of a batch of state emails released in response to a Judicial Watch lawsuit. The State Department memo highlighted the importance of using shows like Ellen to push government agendas as opposed to more political news outlets writing. These outlets can create vital support for official policy or pending legislation among key domestic constituency groups, but also create momentum for policy abroad. As the media environment continues to become more and more globally interconnected, it will be critical for the leadership of the State Department to leverage these media opportunities to amplify and deliver messages that advance policymaking. In another leaked official State Department exchange, a top government aide and the Secretary of State discussed Ellen DeGeneres' quote, willingness to do whatever we ask. Subject: if Ellen DeGeneres in LA, unclassified U.S. Department of State case number F 2014-20439, date 09/30/2015, release in full, from Cheryl Mills. Remember who Cheryl Mills is? Yeah, the whole trafficking in Haiti. Subject, if Ellen DeGeneres in LA, great. From, this is from Hillary, and it was sent Sunday, October 16th, 2011, to Cheryl Mills regarding if Ellen DeGeneres in LA. I spoke with her, and she said she would do whatever we asked, and so full speed ahead. From Cheryl Mills to Hillary. Okay, that's it. That's as far as it goes. So to recap, Ellen DeGeneres is willing to covertly push official government foreign policy under the guise of a silly, non-threatening morning talk show. If that's not the definition of a government asset, I'm not sure what is. It should be noted the most common official CIA cover is provided by the State Department. Their relationship is a tangled one, to say the least. And this from Foreign Affairs, the CIA and Foreign Policy. In an excerpt from the 1988 winter edition of Foreign Affairs, they admit, over the years, public views of the Central Intelligence Agency and its role in American foreign policy have been shaped primarily by movies, television, novels, newspapers, books, by journalists, headlines growing out of congressional inquiries, exposés by former intelligence officers, and essays by experts. The edition goes on to discuss how the CIA is said to be an invisible government and how broad questions exist about the proper relationship between the intelligence service and policymakers, such as the State Department. It raises questions of whether the CIA slants or cooks its intelligence analysis to support covert actions or policy, and of the degree to which policymakers or their staffs selectively use and abuse intelligence to persuade superiors, Congress, or the public. To reiterate what we learned above, Ellen DeGeneres is willing to covertly push official government foreign policy under the guise of a silly, non-threatening morning talk show. Also, interestingly, Sony is the company that distributes the Ellen DeGeneres show. If you are getting your news from Jake Tapper in the fallout during the Sony hacks, you probably have no idea the incredible bombshells that were revealed. Notably, among them is the tight link between Sony and, you guessed it, the government, specifically the CIA/State Department. The work publicly known from Sony is to produce entertainment. However, the Sony archives show that behind the scenes, this is an influential corporation with ties to the White House. There are almost 100 U.S. government email addresses in the archive with an ability to impact laws and policies and with connections to the U.S. military-industrial complex. Julian Assange. That was a quote from Julian Assange. I strongly urge everyone to read Julian Assange's press release regarding the Sony hack and search at the flagged emails therein. Go and read it all for yourself. Below are a couple of examples. Here we have the Undersecretary of the State Department asking the CEO of Sony who he can see in the entertainment world while he's in New York regarding anti-Russian messaging and also anti-ISIL messaging. And here we have the State Department Undersecretary discussing again with CEO Michael Linton what Hollywood writers and actors the government could tap to covertly push their agenda. Among the names that rolled easily off collective Sony's tongues were George Clooney, Kerry Washington, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Aaron Sorkin, writer of CIA propaganda films such as The Social Network, Shonda Rhimes, and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, among others. It is starting to make sense why, when Trump Jr. made an offhand comment about Ellen being deep state, the collective force of the machine came down on him. Ellen and the CIA. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know one of the main things I speak out about is the Pentagon, DOD, CIA infiltration of Hollywood. If you've been reading and paying attention to all the documents released through the leaks of or Freedom of Information Act over the last 5 years, you know the CIA actively promotes a desirable public image of its history and function by advising the production of Hollywood vehicles such as Argo and Zero Dark 30, to name just two of thousands of examples. You know that the agency retains entertainment industry liaison officers on its staff that plant positive images about itself, in other words, propaganda, though our most popular forms of entertainment. Tom Hayden explains the LA Review of Books. So natural has the CIA entertainment connection become that few question its legal or moral ramifications. Here you can read the CIA's own CIA OIG Entertainment Industry Report, which states the many dubious legal and ethical problems with this relationship and goes into detail about the lack of appropriateness with which it is handled. This is government agency like no other. The truth of its operations is not subject to public examination. When the CIA's hidden persuaders influence a Hollywood movie, it is using a popular medium to spin a favorable image of itself as possible, or at least prevent an unfavorable one from taking hold. Tom Hayden, Review of the CIA in Hollywood, How the Agency Shapes Film and Television by Tricia Jenkins. In a quick search of Freedom of Information documents regarding the Pentagon, DoD, CIA involvement with Hollywood, the Ellen DeGeneres Show comes up with remarkable frequency. Ellen Mother's Day Show, FOUOSAPA-CRD, OCPA-LA, contacted by popular daytime talk show Ellen for support of their upcoming Mother's Day episode. The Ellen DeGeneres Show is inviting military moms to be to their Mother's Day show on Thursday, May 5th. The whole audience will consist of moms-to-be. Ellen is offering 15 to 20 seats to military moms-to-be, coordinating with Fort Irwin for support. Assessment supports building resiliency. Didn't you realize that keeping Americans consenting to war and emotionally manipulated enough to never question why it is we're fighting in the first place was all in a day's work for America's silliest chat host? Here are more official documents released through Freedom of Information requests that detail Ellen's use of the Ellen DeGeneres Show to promote the government's agenda, cough, cough, asset. All right then, moving on. Yes, there's lots more. Now, this is really important because it fits into everything that Q has been saying about, Hollywood being owned, about mainstream media being owned, all of this. So this should not be surprising. And I am going to put this article in the, I'm going to pin it to the first comment so that you can go out and peruse it for yourself, because there's links within it that you can go out and look at. So let me continue though. Story. Al-Qaeda, Ellen, remember that time British intelligence agencies in association with the Pentagon and CIA inserted Ellen's cupcake recipes into a jihad magazine? Haha, LOL, isn't that hilarious and totally random? Yes, this actually happened. No, I'm not kidding. There is a close, well-documented history of cooperation, read covert oneness, between MI6, GCHQ, and CIA. Their shadowy inner workings of that vast global spook network are on full display in this bizarre tale about how, in 2011, intelligence operatives replaced BOMB making instruction in an ALQAEDA online magazine with a cupcake recipe from, of all places in the entire internet, Ellen DeGeneres' website. There's a pesky, persistent rumor that Ellen DeGeneres is not a very nice person in real life. I know, it's impossible to fathom because she's so sweet on TV. But say you want, say what you want about her. She was the first star to welcome the CIA to Twitter when the agency joined officially in 2014. It's a well-known fact that Ellen is one of the biggest and most influential accounts on the website, and a well-documented truth that the CIA has a PR problem, to say the least. But I'm sure this wasn't orchestrated or anything. Yeah. And this from Ellen DeGeneres. If it's one thing I love about the CIA, it's their sense of humor. We neither confirm nor deny this is our first tweet. Interesting. Then the CIA says, sorry for not following you back at the Ellen Show, but if you visit us, maybe we can take a selfie. The CIA are so cool and harmless and hip, they're palling around with Ellen on Twitter. It could almost make an American forget about all forget all about things like Iran-Contra, Gary Webb, Operation Condor, Operation Gladio, Montauk, and the untold number of other human atrocities committed by them with our money and in our name under their demonic cloak of darkness. Neuro-linguistic programming. The CIA has long been fond of this form of mind control. NLP uses words to induce a hypnotic state and make people more suggestible. And we're not going to get into all that, how it works, but you've probably never heard of it because you're not trying to control people's minds, like, say, the CIA. Nor are you trying to assist in controlling people's minds, like, say, a talk show host with 74 million Twitter followers. Speaking of Ellen, you know who else is a self-proclaimed NLP devotee? Why, it's Ellen, of course. Amazon, CIA, Jeff Bezos, and wait for it, Ellen. If there's an American who isn't aware of the terrifying link between Amazon and the CIA, if this is the only thing you take away from this article, dear God, I'm glad you're here. Back in 2014, Amazon signed a $600 million contract with, you guessed it, the CIA. Amazon now has the means, motive, and opportunity to provide huge amounts of customer information to its new business partner. We look forward to a successful relationship with the CIA. Apparently, they agree. The agency gave Amazon the contract for $600 million, even though it wasn't the lowest bid. Amazon's trajectory into the CIA's spooky arms may be a bit more than just corporate eagerness to land a lucrative contract. In late 2010, amid intense public interest in documents that WikiLeaks was posting to illuminate U.S. actions overseas, Amazon took a notable step. As The Guardian reported at the time, Amazon pulled the plug on hosting the whistleblowing website in reaction to heavy political pressure. It didn't take much for Amazon to cave. The company announced it was cutting WikiLeaks off only 24 hours after being contacted by the staff of Joe Lieberman, chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security, The Guardian noted. In view of Amazon's eagerness to dump the WikiLeaks site at the behest of U.S. government officials, what else might the Amazon hierarchy be willing to do? Amazon maintains a humongous trove of detailed information about hundreds of millions of people. Are we willing to believe that the CIA and other intelligence agencies have no interest in Amazon's data? I lost my place. So where does Ellen fit into this? Well, wouldn't you know it, every time Amazon comes out with a new Fourth Amendment crushing CIA wiretap device, Alexa product, America's favorite comedian host seems to do silly and always ultimately reassuring plug for the gadget. Well, of course. Let's just try this. Ellen tries out a nicer version of Amazon Alexa.
You know, if you ever have to learn anything, you can always ask Alexa. Alexa has a new feature called Magic Word. If you say please when Alexa is being asked a question, she'll be nicer to you. This is absolutely true. So I thought I was going to try it out in front of you. I brought my Alexa from home, and we will see. Okay. Alexa, tell me what the weather will be tomorrow, please.
The weather in Burbank tomorrow will be sunny with a high of 64 degrees. By the way, thank you for asking so nicely.
You're welcome.
Actually, when I say thank you, it's nicer to say thank you instead of you're welcome.
Oh, okay, thank you.
No, it's too late.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry, it's not your fault. I blame myself for not teaching you manners.
I thought you'd be nicer. You seem like you're kind of passive-aggressive there.
Well, I thought you'd ask me something about something besides the weather. I thought you'd ask me about something besides the weather.
What? I get it. What, Alexa?
I thought you'd ask me something besides the weather. But I get it. You're busy. You're a big celebrity. You don't have time for me.
I think that's a big misunderstanding. You're very helpful, Alexa.
Thank you, Ellen. I love being helpful. Here's a tip. Would it kill you to wear a skirt once in a while?
Okay. All right.
I do find Ellen very, very funny. And I think that is, she's so disarming that people don't, it's difficult to view her in that light. But I've wondered this for a long time because of the guests that she has on, like, Michelle Obama and so forth. And, you know, it's like everybody loves Ellen. They do. And I do happen to think she's very funny. But, yeah, she's also an asset. All right. For them. And then Ellen tries out Amazon's new whisper mode, Alexa's involvement with the CIA. Yeah, so Ellen previews the new Alexa backseat driver. Okay, gosh, it's almost like Ellen works for Amazon or the CIA or whatever. But seriously, aren't all those bits just adorable? They really do a lot to put one's guard down about having a listening device in every room of your house that connects to a CIA cloud. I can almost hear it. Great work, Ellen. The agency thanks you. Did you know Ellen owns slot machines in Vegas Hotel? Which hotel, you ask? Yeah, that one. Yeah, I'm not going to say that word because it is banned. But you know which one. Now, let's not forget about the... Okay, I'm not going to talk about that because that is really, really banned. But... yeah, and remember, the only one to interact with the fruiter was Ellen. All right. Oh, not the fruiter, but the security guard. And I do remember seeing that and thinking, what? It just didn't make sense to me. Well, the Daily Mail later confirmed the parent company of MGM Inc. controlled the one and only media appearance in what was a well-scripted presentation. It is also reported that Ellen, producer, I'm looking at you, Lassner, was mum on how they landed the that interview. Yeah, Betty was. On October 2nd, okay, what's this? All right, hang on. I'm hearing somebody scratching my chair over there, and I don't have my Acme Cappy on. Oh, the humanity. Okay, so on October 2nd, DeGeneres was among the first celebrities to tweet a link to the fund set up by the VICTIMS fund set up by Clark County Commission Chairman Steve, asking for 74 million followers to donate. Wednesday's show also included a plug for ways to help the fruiting VICTIMS. So anyway, I'm going to have to move on from this because this is a really, really sensitive topic. Gee, I wonder why. Makes me wonder. Why is it such a sensitive subject? Anyway, here's a homework assignment. Who owns MGM Results International? What are their connections and affiliations to the CIA? Who owns the Ellen DeGeneres Show? What are the connections here? What are the implications? It's all open source. Make of all this information what you will. I'm not here to tell you what to think about any of it. I'm simply here to pool all this open source information into one place so you can make an informed decision of whether you want to watch the show, which reminds me, via Andy Lassner Wikipedia page, and so in Bogota, Colombia, at the height of the CIA's involvement in that country, a foreign language expert and a U.S. military personnel employed by Seagram's, yeah, Wexner, yeah, and Epic Find gave birth to our friend Andy Lassner. That's right. Let me say that again. At the height of CIA's involvement in Bogota, a foreign language expert and a U.S. military personnel employed by SEAGRAMS and less WEXNER and Epic Find gave birth to our friend Andy Lassner. And yes, Epic Find was and probably still is an intelligence It's all good. It could be nothing. I'm sure it's probably nothing. Honestly, Andy likely doesn't even realize how suspicious his own birth looks to those of us who actually read things other than the Huffington Post. At any rate, I've taken the liberty of filling a Freedom of Information Act request with the CIA Entertainment Liaison's Office for all information having to do with Ellen and the Ellen show. Such a request, to my knowledge, has never been filed before. So stay tuned. This shite's getting exciting. Given all the above, I think it's safe to admit Ellen is not exactly what we've been led to believe. Well, that I know. And selfies, P-I-Z-Z-A, and promoting brands at the Oscar, as she does. But hey, don't take my word for it. Look what the Hollywood Reporter said on the subject. When Ellen came out on April 30th, 1997, excuse me. Hang on. When Ellen came out on April 30th, 1997, an internal computer bulletin board system at the CIA lit up. Did they say an internal computer bulletin board system at the CIA? That's effing weird. Who knew the nation's spies were paying such attention to a sitcom star? Here's where I raise my hand. But they were. National icons are national assets, after all. Yes, they are. Might surprise you who are assets. Some I know of that would absolutely shock you. Some are high-profile ministers. That's right. And yes, I do know that as a fact. All right. So really starts to make you wonder about all of them, doesn't it? Yeah. Love and truth. Tiffany, if you appreciate my work, consider becoming a Patreon. I am 100% reader funded. And let's go back to the top here and take a look. This is Tiffany Fitzhenry. And yeah, that is one of the most fascinating things I've read, because it just confirms to me something that I've already, long suspected. And I think that's interesting. And yes, and I'm hoping to be able to have more information on this if I can scrounge it up, that Epic Find is also, or was, we don't know, an asset, and has probably been given safe passage. Maybe, I don't know, but that's what I think. All right, now I'm going to leave it there, just because there's a lot of stuff still. I only hit on a fraction of it because it's there's so much stuff, but I think I can I think I can stop there, and I'll pick up the rest tomorrow, and along with whatever is currently in the news tomorrow. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be subscribed, make sure you are still subscribed, because they are really messing with my numbers. It went from 1,200 new users, new subscribers a month, down to 300. Yeah, that's suspicious. That's very suspicious. My numbers haven't gone down of viewers, but my subscribers have. So yeah, I find that very suspicious. They're doing the same thing with me on Twitter. But yeah, so make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you stay subscribed if you wish to be. Hit the bell to be notified of future videos. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Sleep well, stay safe, and keep seeking truth. Good night.